Greetings, it's Vanessa-Mary, your favorite well-being healer, coming back with another episode of the podcast Healing with Hearts. How are you? In fact, it's Healing with Heart, but there's a couple of hearts involved today. So yeah, we'll have the plural. How are you? Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to this podcast. It is a podcast that shines the light on the everyday journey of leaders and family-owned businesses. And in each episode, we're talking about the human side of leadership. We look at the stories, the struggles, and the strengths that are shaping us as business owners. And, many of us have got families, so we're building a legacy for our family. So we do this by talking to each other openly. We talk about emotional well-being. We talk about sales, strategy, succession planning. But we're honest, we talk about the challenges that we face in our life as well. So my guests, they come on here, they share their experiences, they leave great tips and insights and also encouragement. And my guest today, I know he would do all of that. I've spoken to him already. I've worked with him through networking. He's also supported me this year at the summit that we've held this year, and we're working together again. So it's an absolute pleasure to bring back Steve Bennett. Here he is. Hey, Steve
Hello.
Bennett, information coach. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Excited to be on again.
Yeah, and I love the background. Woo!
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about what you've got going on since the last time we spoke, but welcome back. And for those who maybe don't know you or they didn't hear our last conversation, would you like to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm I came out of business sort of like a few years ago, and I set up as a transformative coach. What I do with that is take on sort of like entrepreneurs and go-getters and career-minded people that want to really do something with their life, and they get a little bit sick and tired in a rut, and they're not sure where to move. And one of the big things is that what I say is, if you want to change some things in the life, you've got to change some things in your life. So what I do, I help people with success habits, which has moved me on to being a motivational speaker. So I do quite a lot of stuff on the ground, going around different places and talking about how to use success habits to change your life, basically.
And, Steve, I've heard you speak many times now. I'm just going to check in on the recording, make sure everything's coming through properly. Yes, it is. Right. So, yeah, I've heard you speak. I didn't hear you at my event because obviously I was hosting the event. So I know you did a masterclass for us. So we'll touch in on that a bit later. But I've certainly heard you speak online and at live events where you give great tips. And I tell you what, Steve, the last session, I came back and there's no point in just taking notes when somebody's speaking. You've got to actually implement what they've said. I put that into action and it made a difference. You were talking to us about processes and the things that we could change within our business immediately. And I did that, and it has made a difference and made me think deeper on other areas of the business as well. So thank you.
No problem. Yeah, that's great.
Brilliant. So, Steve, on this conversation, we are going to talk about the giveaway. So I'll just introduce the giveaway now. So for anyone who's listening, Steve has, he's such a generous man, and he's so supportive of what I'm doing as well. And I really do appreciate that. So I asked Steve if he would kindly contribute to the giveaway that I've put together over the summer, which is called the Seeds of Support giveaway. And this is where I'm working with amazing contributors like Steve, and I will list and talk about the others later. But, collectively, we have gifted, whether it's membership, services, all different things. All right. And collectively, the total price comes up to £4,444. And all of this good knowledge and insight is going to one winner. Can you believe that, Steve? Just one person's going to get all of just poured into them. I mean, you're a transformative coach. I mean, like, honestly, even if somebody just took a little snippet of the prize, they're going to change. Yes.
Definitely. It's exciting because I obviously I know all the people that are involved, and what you've put together, Vanessa, is absolutely amazing. The package itself, whoever wins that, they are in for an absolute treat.
They are, Steve. And I was very selective about who I invited. I'm obviously going to put the link to the giveaway underneath this recording. So wherever you're watching it, please follow the link. But you will find that there are contributors who will support you with what I describe as your marketing, with your mindset, with the operational features of your business, with the legal aspects of the business, with the financial aspects of the business, with the human resources aspects of the business. Like, come on, could I have done any more than that, Steve?
No, you've covered all bases, and that's what's exciting. It doesn't matter whether you're starting out or whether you're an established business. There's got to be something in there that's going to be right for whoever wins it.
Brilliant. Thank you. And there is a smaller prize as well. So the smaller prize, I've got 3 contributors who I do need to start shouting about on social media because they're absolutely amazing. So shout out to Anita, Rory, and also Andrew, who've also contributed. Oh, and I forgot about the health and well-being, which is where I come in. And energy. So yeah, there's something in the mix for all of you. But right now I'm talking to Steve around the SEEDS framework. So our last conversation was really about the event that was held in May. So again, thank you so much for being a part of that. And in that conversation, we got to know you a little bit more. We got to know a bit more about your family. You told us about the master class that you were hosting for us, which, I mean, the feedback, if I've got the forms, I might have to shuffle down there, but the feedback was outstanding for your masterclass, Steve. And I didn't hear it myself directly, but I could tell that you definitely gave people something to think about. And like I said, with me, I put your thoughts and your advice into action straight away. So well done. So maybe we might pick up on some of that good stuff here in this conversation. So the SEEDS framework, the S starts with strategy, and then we'll talk about the support network, and we'll talk about sales. So, I feel like you've got some strategy in there somewhere, Steve. What would you say to an entrepreneur, like you said, at any stage of our journey? What does strategy mean for us?
Well, it's all about planning. Strategy is sort of like making sure that you've got some sort of plan. One of the key things that I say to people is that if you show me a genius without a plan, and then show me an idiot with a plan, the idiot will win every day because he knows where he's going. He knows what he's doing.
I love that. The idiot will win. Because actually, you can see that some people who you might think, how on earth are they doing so well? Like you said, maybe they've just taken a simple plan and they're following it to the letter.
Honestly, what people don't understand is that I left school early. I came out with the only qualification I come out with was an O-level in art.
Right.
And,
wow.
And what happened was that, later on in my career, I found something that excited me and I formed a plan. And that plan has got me to where I am today. So that's, strategy is a massive thing because you've really got to understand where you're going in life. Now, it doesn't matter whether that's business or just life in general. You've got to understand it's not about, putting, massive things in place like for tomorrow. It's about just changing little things day by day. And with a strategy, you can understand then that each day you're working to the better, to the bigger goal.
I love that. You said each day, because I think it's okay to think big, and I know as a coach you would encourage us to think big, but sometimes we're thinking so big that it's like, well, yeah, let's just start with the basics. Like, what are you going to do today? So I love that, Steve. Thank you. So let's talk about the support network. So I would definitely say that you're part of my support network. We've networked with each other, and you are a supporter of what I do. I really appreciate that. What does a support network look like for you? And I know that you're involved in different networks as well. So, please feel free to speak around that.
Yeah, you have to have a team of people around you. I run my business now basically because I'm running as what we classify as a coach and a motivational speaker. It's very silo. So I need a network of people. And that network of people has come from, obviously, as you know, I do a lot of networking, but in the background, I also have, professional people like solicitors and accountants and HR people, all there in the background that I utilize when I go into a business and I'm not 100% sure how to handle something because it's not my expertise. So having close knit. I copy what Steve Judge. I don't know if anybody knows Steve Judge, but his book Gold, the golden team, the team that holds you up, the team that keeps you aspiring for everything each day. They're the close people. They're the people that I keep close. That's like family, friends, obviously business associates that know where I'm going and what I'm doing and are willing to help me. They're the people that you need to latch onto and actually, be at one with them. Don't hide away from the fact that if you've got a problem, share it, because sometimes, people just think, oh, I'll get on with it. We'll work through it. If you share it, it might, instead of working through it for a week, it might only be a day if you shared it. So, I'd be very, very, I'm that type of person that would always recommend you have at least 5 or 6 people around you that you can talk to.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Stephen. I'm just pulling up a comment that's come through from France. Lots of love, Stephanie. It's been so long.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for tuning in. So, yes, the golden team. I love what you've just said, because the golden team means that you are aware that within that we all have different roles. So Stephanie was part of my community a few years ago. So it's absolutely wonderful to see her still following my content and sending love. And I send you love from England as well, Stephanie. But again, Steve, it's that type of thing, isn't it? When you are working in a supportive environment, as someone who's heart-led like yourself, it just means that we're very much looking out for what others around us need. And it's like you said, if we're not able to service that, maybe it's not in our skill set, or we don't specialize in that area, so the legal side, the finance, that type of thing, then we can also say to those that we care about, do you know what, have a word with this man or this woman, because I know that they would be the right one for you. So thank you for that. So let's talk about sales. Before you go into this, Steve, just give the audience some background of what you've achieved, because not everybody will know. I know that you're not turning up in that role anymore, but you've actually been an owner of a really successful company. So please do tell us.
Yeah, I had a recruitment company. That recruitment company, I sort of like, within 5 years, I was pushing a £20 million turnover. And I opened another company, sort of like a sister company to the side of it. I sold that recruitment company in 2019, and then the second company in 2022. Within that, obviously, I was the person that was head of making sure that the company was sort of like going in the right direction. So what we've already spoke about with strategy planning and things like that, I did all that and made sure that the sales side of it were always always put in a position, because you can oversell. There's a way of overselling, and that turns into a negative cash flow. And if anybody is growing a business right now and it's going very, very well, what I would say is make sure you get the right advice on how you make sure that you keep your cash flow well, because that's one of the key successes in any business. Cash is king at the end of the day. It's all right having a massive turnover, but if you've got no cash to back it up, it's very, very, very difficult to keep the business running. So it was one of my key things with the business, was to make sure that we were always in a positive cash flow, and we made sure that in each sale there was a profit. People forget that, if you're actually selling, you have to sell for a profit. And there's so many people that I've been into businesses wise that say, well, we've got to match our competitor. And then when you break it down and you look at the overheads, you're matching your competitor to actually undersell. And so you've got to look for an angle. You've got to look for a way forward that where you've got your own little USP that can actually lift the sales so that you are running at a profit.
I love that. And the reason why I chuckled is because the conversation I recorded last week with one of my members, she's a nurse. And yes, she's set up a business, which is a commercial business. But I do feel that when you've come from maybe the public sector, the voluntary sector, so that was my training ground, the public sector and the voluntary sector, that we come into this world, we've got big hearts, and we're like, yes, I'll help you. We're like, yes, I need to actually charge you. Okay, then. But you're right. We have to think about the profit as well, because, my aspirations for the future is to give more. Well, how can I give if I haven't even got enough for myself? That's not going to work. So you are correct. Mm-hmm. We have to think about making and building a profitable business. Thank you for that, Steve. All right. Yeah. So let's move on now and talk about the E. We're going to talk about emotional well-being. And I know your personal story. I don't mind hearing it again here, because I feel that your personal story actually helped you to really figure out the direction that you are now in. So what would you maybe reflect on in terms of emotional well-being, and any advice that you would give to our audience, please?
Yeah, carrying on from the fact that, I built these successful businesses, what was happening was that on the outside, everybody thought, look at Steve, he's high flyer, he's got everything, he's got the cars, he's got the house, he's got this, he's got that. But inside, I was absolutely dying. I was in a massive depression at the end of sort of like selling the businesses. I didn't realize just how bad it was. And a lot of people laugh and say, oh, I sold it in 2019, just before COVID. Well done. Well, unfortunately, that was my downfall, because when COVID hit, and I didn't know I was in the, I didn't reach out. I didn't look for anybody to talk to. And I just tried to handle it myself. I'm a man's man. I'm a businessman. I'll sort it out. That was my attitude. And I went into a massive downward spiral in COVID. If it wasn't for the fact that I have a very, very strong wife, I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't be here today. Wow. I turned to drink and drugs. And on the back of that, I had no idea where I was going to go with my life. I had nothing. And I had to hit an absolute rock bottom to pick myself up. And one of the key things that everybody sees, I was sat there in a room on my own, thinking about the fact that if I carried on doing what I was doing, I was going to kill myself. And I don't mean suicide, but I just mean the abuse, the mental and physical abuse that I was giving myself was unbelievable. And it was at that point where I decided I needed to do something about it. And what I said earlier, if you want to change some things in your life, you've got to change some things in your life. So I gave up drinking, and I went to seek professional advice. And from that professional advice, cutting a long story short, as I was coming out the other side, I'm thinking there's so many people that must go through what I've been through. And so I investigated and I did research and I looked into what caused me to do what I did, which brought me into being a transformational coach. So the NLP side of it, training to be an NLP coach was just it was a given. It just felt right. It just felt like I could put something back into other people's lives. If I could just save one life, that was my key. That was my key. If I could go out there and just turn somebody's life around, then I knew that I'd done the job that I was going to set out to do. Luckily I've had quite a lot of messages and things where some of my talks have really inspired people, and I thank God for that. It's just an amazing experience that I can actually do that. Somewhere in the universe, somebody decided that it was time for me to go out there and tell my story, and hopefully people resonate with it, because it has gone from sort of like rags to riches to absolutely down to nothing to where I'm at today, probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. And that's that I didn't even understand what happiness was 5 years ago. So it's a massive, when we talk about emotional intelligence, it's a massive thing that we a lot of people who are in business by themselves need to address and find a really good balance.
Steve, you've said so much, and I'm going to work backwards, because one of the things that I'm wondering is, for successful people, I've not made $1 million, not yet. I'm just putting that out there. But what I know is, for some people, are they using sort of like money as their, almost like they're worshiping their money? That's what's driving them. So when they think about the emotion and what they're getting up for, it's for the money, it's for the success, it's for thinking that the money is going to give them happiness, is the point that I'm making here.
Yeah.
So there's one thing there. And then I've made a note about, I know that you're a heart-led man because of the conversations that I have had with you, the conversation that we've just had before about your lovely little dog, and I feel like, yes, we can inspire others when we are willing to hold that mirror up and accept the vulnerability as well within our own life. And that's emotional healing, when we can say to ourselves, what, like you said, what do I need to change? What do I need to work on? Addictions, very interesting. There are people that are maybe not facing their addictions. So for some people, there's lots of addictions. It might not just be the obvious ones. We can get addicted to things like, for me, I probably watch too much YouTube. I think, am I addicted? So it's one of those things. We have to look at all of our habits and look at the habits that are serving us and moving us forward. So going back to the YouTube thing, I try and balance it. Like, am I listening to things that are actually going to help me with my business? Am I listening to things that are going to help me with my life? I feel like at some point, every conversation I was listening to was business, was politics, was, really heavy subjects. And I was like, do you know what? I need to listen to something a bit more lighter here. So I've listened, I listened to more things that are more about spiritual topics, about relationships and other things like that, which now it's given me a balance, and I can apply those good thoughts into my life. So yeah, this is really, really good stuff. Thank you for that. So emotional well-being right now, what do you do? What would you share with other people of things that, maybe a habit or something that you love to do, that that's part of my emotional fitness? How would you guide us on that?
Yeah. So for me to sort of like start climbing back up the mountain, because it just felt an impossible task. And the only way that I could get back up that mountain, was one step at a time. And to do that, I ended up on a daily basis practicing quite a few things, and I turned it into what I call my power hour. So that 1 hour a day just made sure that I could get through the next 23. And it was all about sort of like meditation, self-development, exercise, just general looking after yourself, well-being, as you know, is one of the key things that can help anybody get through anything if you are actually investing a little bit of time into yourself. And what I would say is that anybody who's listening to this and watching this, if you have got some struggles, how much time do you actually take to yourself to think about it and put it right? Or do you just sit worrying about it all the time? We can't change the future. The future's, so in worrying, we can't change anything. What we can do is look after our present time. And the only way we can do that is by investing time in ourselves. And if you can invest that time in yourself, some of these worries and, the anxiety and things like that can be easily dispersed just by spending a little time with yourself.
Oh, that is amazing. And I love the analogy of the mountain there as well. So I think that's very, very crucial stuff. I call my power hour energy alignment, just because I'm very aware of energy and how we can actually use energy to create things in our life, but we have to have that space for it. Like you said, to get into that flow state, you have to have done some work, like you said, on your own, whatever that looks like for you. So there's a whole raft of things there. Beautiful. I love that part of our conversation. Thank you. So, we're talking about energy alignment now. Okay, so let's go deeper on energy alignment now. For me, I was more thinking about this in terms of physical things. So I've been for my walk today. I didn't have time to go to the gym. So I just had to make that decision. I need to move. What am I going to do? I can still go for a walk. Being in nature is so powerful. I'm very proud of the net walking group that still stepped out with me, 2 weeks ago, even though it was pouring it down. When I say pouring it down with rain, Steve, and I thought, gosh, they're going to cancel, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. Because we can't let, for example, the weather, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, we can't let the weather stop us from being physically active. You wouldn't move. So, exactly. In terms of energy and that physical side, Stephen, maybe we could talk about food as well. I've not had much conversations about food on the program here. What would you say to us in terms of what you're doing in your life, please?
Where do I start? So most people won't know, but over the last couple of years, I've lost nearly 6.5 stone.
You look great.
That has come from looking after myself. Mm-hmm. And it's not, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's a diet involved, but the diet has energized me to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. At the stage of life that I'm at, I want to give myself the best opportunity to run into sort of like my 60s in the best shape of my life. So the only way that I can do that is by watching what I'm eating and drinking. I obviously alcohol is not sort of like a prominent thing in my life anymore. So what I do really enjoy is just being able to go out and socialize with people and actually remember what I've done.
Excellent. So you don't always have to have a drink. That's what you're saying when you say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the other side of the coin with the food, I look for foods that are high protein and sort of like fairly organic. Well, we food wise now eat very well. And I make sure that I've got plenty of protein so that I can go to the gym and I can do the walks, and I can get on my bike and I can go for a bike. I've got a place up near the North Yorkshire Moors at the moment, and so the mountain bike is sort of like sat staring at me at the minute saying I need to go up that mountain. So my challenge, I've challenged myself through winter this year that I'm going to be biking through the moors to keep myself fit. So yeah, that thing about the weather, I will be, hail, sleet, wind or snow. I'll be challenging myself to ride through the moors.
Yeah, just go for it. I mean, just think about the clothing. I'm not being funny, but I just feel that, and I'm talking to people in the UK. I can't speak for other places, but the weather is used too much of an excuse as to why we cannot go for a walk, like you said, go for a mountain bike, hiking, all different things. We have to stay active. But I love what you're saying about food, because people actually do need to realize that the body that you're wanting to create is created in your kitchen first. So thinking about what we're putting into our body on a daily basis is really important. And speaking to entrepreneurs out there, so the Seeds community, I primarily work with self-employed mums and dads. I really want you to think about the energy that it takes for you, not only to run your business, but also run your house. I know many of you have young families whereby you have to think about so many different things throughout the day. This is about you keeping your energy levels actually sustained throughout the day so that you're not crashing out and you're thinking, oh, I can't do anything else. All of that is going to be a mixture of how much you move and what you are eating. And Steve has told you about protein. That's something that I specialize in as well. Again, the reason why I was very driven to set up the networking group, Steve, is I love networking. You know that. We've run the networking groups together in Nottingham. But I'm very mindful of sitting down. Again, sitting is a silent killer. All of these, even whether it's at a brunch or whatever, it's still food that I don't really want to be eating, to be even when you look at the menu and you go, oh, I'll go, So for me, the networking was, how can we get out? How can we be in nature? How can we have the conversation? And then what I serve is a protein-based breakfast or a protein-based brunch. So it's early days with the networking, but I'm so excited about it, Stephen. I feel like it's, part of my value, and it's an alignment with the type of well-being coach or well-being healer that I want to be, and how I want to offer my services.
Yeah, I think one of the things about the other thing that people don't understand with protein and carbs is that, your body needs carbs. You've got to have carbs.
Yes.
But if you have them at the right time, I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but if you have like a between 3 and 5 o'clock in an afternoon, you feel like you're crashing. 9 times out of 10, it's because you haven't basically filled yourself up with the right fuel in the morning to keep yourself going. So you have your portion of protein with carbs in the morning so that you can burn them off through the day. And that is the key thing. A lot of people say, oh, I'm crashing at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's solely, this isn't because, you're overworked. It's more down to the fact that you're not fueling your body right.
Exactly. And again, I've spent the last, about 10, 12 years educating people on this stuff, Steve. And it's one of those things where I think it's unbelievable, where people still, again, it's like what we said before, you can have the information but not implement the information, or it's still in a mindset of not wanting to hear the information. You started this section off by talking about, I want to be a strong man going into my 60s, going into my 70s. How are you going to get there? Well, actually, you do need to maintain your muscle. That is key.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So movement is going to be definitely part of your strategy going forward. Your body needs protein, but it doesn't produce protein. Where do we get protein from? We get it from our food. When we're thinking about carbohydrates, we should be thinking about complex carbohydrates. So we're just swapping anything that's white for brown. So if you have white rice, have brown rice. If you have white potatoes, go for red, sweet potatoes. They're the best things that you could eat. So it's this type of things. It's not, how do I explain it? Some people feel like, oh, I don't want to know all of that stuff. But come on, if we're wanting to have a long life, it's just these simple changes, these simple habits, what you've already directed us to. So thank you. Oh, which we're now in the D. Who would have thought? I feel like I'm making this conversation up, but we're on D for direction and decisions. So we can talk about this anywhere that you want to, Steve. I mean, obviously, my audience is self-employed, small business owners. Many of them have got families. And I want to touch upon the fact of carers as well. Because going back to energy, going back to responsibility, many of us are now at that point in our life where we still have a family, so caring responsibilities, whether it's for school-age children, animals, things like that. But we've also got aging parents as well, which is another pull on the energy levels, whether it's the emotional, physical and mental any way you want to take us in the conversation around direction and direction and decisions, please.
If we're talking about in business, then we go back to the start of the conversation, which is your strategy and planning. If you've got that right, then direction and decisions start to come hand in hand. But what happens is that as people grow, and usually when a business is successful, the planning goes a little bit out the window because you're chasing the success, and you're trying to keep that success, that momentum going. And what happens to most people, not all people, but most people, is that they lose their focus, they lose their clarity, and they lose a sense of purpose because they've basically just been on a whirlwind. So what I'd say to people is that one of the massive things about being a part of a golden team as such is that you can stay grounded. So the decisions to if I said to you that I could come in and basically within a few hours I would have you in a situation where you could make the right decision at the right time pretty much most of the time, how would you feel? Most people are like, bloody hell, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So that clarity, that clarity and purpose, giving that back to people is one of my sole aims, because we all have to come back to the reason why. Why are we doing what we do, whether in life or business? Why are you actually doing what you're doing? And I couldn't have climbed my mountain. I could not have got back up my mountain without actually looking back and thinking, how am I going to get up there? And then, why do I want to get up there? And that reason why, I probably had to drill down about 6 or 7 times, why do I want to get up there? I want to be successful again. Why do I want to be successful again? Because I don't want to be sat in the doldrums. Why do I want to be sat in the doldrums? Because it's so bad for me. Why is it bad for me? Because I was going to kill myself. Do you know what? I don't want anybody to think about that. I'm going to do what I do to stop people thinking about that. And that, that was the way that I had to break it down and give some purpose, some direction. And with that direction came just a little bit of enlightenment on the fact that I knew where I wanted to go. So there is with direction and purpose, there is a key to understanding why you want to do it, and then plan it and make sure, you look at somebody who wants to climb up a mountain. They don't just go to Everest and decide to just jump up that mountain, do they? They go to Everest. Exactly. They go to Everest. They've trained for it. And then when they've trained for it, they plan it. And then when they plan it, they execute that plan step by step. So and that's the key.
With that particular example, the reason why might be to raise money for charity, for example, or, whatever it might be. But I'm thinking I need to reflect on my why again, Steve, to be honest. And I'm saying this in all seriousness, in the sense of when I started with the well-being side, I know that my why was a personal why. I had got into a point where my older children were teenagers. They were doing their own thing, and meal times were becoming very chaotic. Everybody wanted different things. So even though I always wanted to cook healthy food, I wasn't reaching that goal. So stepping into well-being at that point was more for education for myself and to bring it back into the home. And then my why kind of changed. Like at that point, I wanted to get healthy. I wanted to lose weight. Now, I achieved all of that, but it was almost like becoming a very fit 40-year-old. Please take this how it is. I just got into the best shape of my life and then conceived a baby. You know, it was like the body was like, let's go. So I conceived Zenta at I think I was 42. Or was I 41, something like that. And then my why changed again. So I feel just listening to you now, I'm going to sit and sit with that and really reflect on that again. So I've still got a very good why around well-being and the health side, but because now the Seeds community is starting to take pace, I mean, again, by contributions from amazing men and men like yourself who supported me. You understood my vision when we had that very first conversation, and I told you about the first event. You was like, I can't be there, but I really like what you're doing. You know, keep me informed with what you're doing. And now the community is growing around that vision. But I do need to kind of check in with the why. And on the most basic level, it's for me to really inspire, and I'm speaking to any women out there with children, for me to inspire a woman who feels that maybe she's been told no, she's been told that she can't do it for whatever reasons over the years. And mine has been, you know, tied up with all sorts of things, being in the care system, not being brought up by my mom, and, you know, being a teenage mom. Yeah, I've been told you're never going to make it, you're never going to make it. So that is part of the why. But then I think there's a bit more to that as well. So thank you so much for that, Steve, because, you know, whatever that turns out to be, it is going to inform my decision-making process as it informs all of us. So I want us to now talk about, I can see here, elevate and conquer. You've been talking about mountains quite a little bit in this conversation. So I'm wondering, is there a link? Do you want to tell us about Elevate and Conquer, Steve? Because I know you've gifted Elevate and Conquer access to it. That is your offering in the giveaway. What would you want to share with us about Elevate and Conquer, please?
Yeah, it's my new coaching program. What I've done, I've took the plunge of taking some of my teachings, developing workshops, and being able to put them online. So the way that the start out of it, you know, the reason why I use the mountain analogy is because that's how I felt when I started. You know, I always felt like I was just trying to constantly strive to get to the top of a mountain and never getting there. And what's happened is that I've been able to link my success and the way that things have gone on in my life to a coaching program that's going to help people, whether it be, you know, just a one-off payment to access some of the workshops, to a monthly subscription to be held accountable, or even to come into the group stuff, which is the summit, come into the summit groups and be able to have some real quality time with myself, to be able to help them sort of like elevate and conquer their own mountain as such. You see, but one of the key things that I say, and we've touched on it a few times, is that you elevate your mind, you can conquer your world. And that's why I chose the title, because if you can't tap into where you want to be and how you want to move forward in life, then it's going to be very hard to conquer your own world. So what you've got to do is understand where you want to go, why you want to do it, and how you're going to get there. And then we can shelve that, and we can work on how we can move forward in life or business, depending on where you're at. What it's about is just wanting to be a better person, wanting to be able to, strive for them. That there's something in your life that you're not sure whether you can achieve. Then come and talk to me, because I'm pretty sure that we could make a plan to make sure you could. And that's the key.
I love that. Thank you, Steve. So yes, I had to go off stage there because I do home educate Centre, and he just decided to put in an appearance. But, it's going back to that, what I said before. I don't want women who've got children around them, for example, to think, oh, I can't do a podcast. So it's about what you've just said there as well. You've got to elevate our mind. If we want to change our world, then go for it. But also get support from people like yourself who can really help to stretch us, because sometimes we're actually holding ourselves back through fear, through lack of confidence, low self-esteem, and that type of thing. So that program sounds absolutely amazing. Would you like to share with us the actual gift that you're putting into the giveaway, please?
Yeah, so there's a PDF that I'll be sharing with people that's got sort of like a taster of all the workshops on. I've also gifted 2 months free of the subscription, where you can see how the workshops work, and you can actually understand how the accountability comes in. And the good thing is the first 2 months that I am gifting is all about building your why and getting a plan. And then I'm also gifting a free group one-to-one with myself, and with that one-to-one there will come out of there an action plan and some sort of accountability as well. So all in all, with everything that's in there, we're talking like just short of £1,000 worth of sort of like resources as such.
I noticed, Steve. Thank you so much. I mean, your contribution's greater than mine, and I'm hosting the giveaway. So thank you. So generous. All right, Steve. Well, we're talking about the final S, and I know that this is something that you definitely thrive on in terms of supporting people to think about this and get this right. It's systems and operations. Is there anything that you wanted to share with us about that, please?
Yeah, systems and operations. We live life by them. I don't care what anybody says. If you lose sort of like the systematic way of putting your life together, then most people, or you would describe yourself as having a chaotic life. And having a chaotic life then clouds judgment. Your brain can't calm down. And I know this because I've been there. So don't think that I'm preaching because I've always been systematic and I've done this and I've done that. I have lost total direction and been absolutely not knowing what I was going to do from minute to minute, let alone day to day. And the only way that you can get out of that is by putting some structure back into your life. And getting that structure doesn't mean to say that you're rigid and it's going to be at 8 o'clock I do this, 9 o'clock I do this, 10 o'clock I do this. It's about each day making sure that you fulfill your life to be better than the day before. And if you can do that system of being able to think about when you review on a night, what did I do today? Did I make anybody happy? Did I do this? Did I do that? Do you know what? I didn't do everything I wanted. Tomorrow I'm going to make sure I do that. So you wake up in the morning, you reflect on what you're going to do through the day, and guess what? You deliver what you wanted. Thinking about the day before. That is a system. That is an operating procedure. That is how you get by in life. It's very formal to call it an operating procedure, but it's the way we work. Our brains need stimulation, and the only way that we can keep stimulated is by working it. You know, it's a massive thing. We how much do we use? We use about a third of our brain,
No.
and the key here is just to keep it stimulated, to keep it working. So if you have got something that you really want to strive for, and you're not sure how you're going to get there, then at least try and put yourself a plan together and ask yourself, why do you want to be where you want to be?
I love it. I mean, I'm trying to reach down. I won't because it doesn't look very ladylike, but Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is the book that we're reading on a Sunday. So I have a free reading group, Self-Care Sunday. We literally, no, it's not on video. We just speak to each other on the telephone, read that book together, and it's wonderful because it's written by Joe Dispenza, so he's giving us the neuroscience, but he's talking about the quantum field and all of this stuff. But the operating system is a wonderful way of looking at that as well. And as you were speaking, I was thinking it goes back to the why, because if you don't have that why clear enough, then actually, like you said, every day we need that structure. There's definitely been points of my life when I know that I didn't have a purpose, Steve, because the whole day went and it was like,
Yeah.
what did you do with the day? Oh, I was just sat here watching television. You know, that's who I used to be until something clicked. And I was like, no, you're a single mom. You're a young single mom. People have already told you you're not going to make it in life. So how are you going to change that? What do you need to do? And that was it was stirring something within me. So then that's when I went back to college, finished college, went to university. But all of those things became part of my operating system, because even to get to university, that didn't just arrive like that. So I love it. Thank you. And, if you're listening to this as a business owner, think about how you can apply this into your business. As I said at the beginning, Steve's talk, and I think that you'd given that talk based on the masterclass, wasn't it, that you'd done at the summit for me?
The systems, yeah. You asked me to do processes and procedures.
That was it. So it was a brilliant talk. Maybe you could record that, Steve, and have that available for people, because you said it in such a very good practical way that it didn't make the listener feel overwhelmed. And I definitely put things into action straight away. And like you said, it doesn't have to be, at 8 o'clock, I'm doing this. But have an idea of what you should be doing at 8 o'clock. Because otherwise 8 o'clock comes and goes, doesn't it? And you think, oh, what have I done?
It does, yeah.
But Steve, it's been so wonderful to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time. We've covered a lot of stuff. So the good thing about doing these recordings is I get to have snippets. So I'm sure we're going to have some really good snippets that I can use in the future. Obviously, you're part of the giveaway. So anybody who's listening, you will find Steve's information in the giveaway. But Steve, for anybody who doesn't click on that link, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't want to, but what if they didn't, Steve? How do we find you?
Yeah, we're basically my website, ascendcoaching.co.uk. Everything that you need on there. Obviously, they can find me on LinkedIn and on Facebook, whether it be Ascend Coaching or my name, Steve Bennett. I'm quite prominent on both, so it's quite easy to find me. But the key really is, if you look at the link and go on there, and just that will give you an idea of where you want to be. That will give you sort of like the great thing is that registering on the waiting list for when the first assessment comes out, that assessment is an amazing tool to see where you're at right now. Where are you at in your life, in your business? That will give you so much clarity, and it's under no obligation for you to go any further. Once you've done the assessment, it's done. It's up to you what you do with it from there. And that's my gift to you guys.
There's a free assessment anyway, even if people don't actually fully sign up for the program.
Yeah. It's just no obligation. They just do the assessment, and they'll be given, a couple of questions on the back of it for them to really, delve deep for themselves and think about what they want to do. If they decide that they want to find out more and, you know, get any more help from me, great. If they don't and they feel that they can move forward, please use it. That's the whole point of it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Steve, like I said, it's always a joy to spend time with you. You offer so much value, even in private conversations, in public conversations. You are a great coach, and I feel so blessed to be, connected with you. So thank you for everything that you've done to support me in my journey. And I know that you will be supporting many others as you roll out the Elevate and Conquer program.
That's very kind. Thank you. I really do thank you from the bottom of my heart as well, Vanessa, because you know, you're an ambassador to quite a lot of networking groups within Nottingham. But what you do for, you know, with the seeds and how you pull people together is an amazing thing. So that's why I love supporting you. Well done.
Oh, thank you, Steve. And I know we'll continue to work together. Thank you. All right, then, everyone. That's been Steve Bennett here with us today, and Vanessa-Mary live streaming from Nottingham. Thank you to everyone who's watched the live. If you're catching up on the replay, please do leave me a comment so that I know that you are here. We love the likes. We love the comments. And if you are watching on YouTube, please could you like and subscribe to my channel? That's one of my goals, to see that channel growing. But thanks again and have a wonderful day. You take care. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.